Welcome to another video about math. Welcome, rock stars. Hope you guys are having a wonderful time. Today, we are going to talk about converting units of measurement using proportional relationships. Yep. Hey, do you know which part of a car is always tired? It's the exhaust pipe. The exhaust pipe is always tired. Let's go. You might even say it's exhausted. All right. So today, we're going to work on applying proportional relationships to solve problems in context with units of measurement. All right. So we're going to be taking units of measurement, converting it, and we're going to use this thing called the thingy thang. Okay. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It's super important for doing all things proportions and proportional reasoning. All right. So let's review a little proportional relationship. What that means is we have two variables who have a proportional relationship if the ratios of the variables are equivalent. For example, here's a ratio 2 to 3. It's written as a fraction, conveniently. And we have another proportion or another ratio that says 6 to 9, and we want to see if they have a proportional relationship. You can think of it as it goes up by the same rate for both parts of the proportion or for the ratio. You can look at it as an equivalent fraction. What we know about equivalent fractions are they also are proportional. So, in other words, we went from 2 to 6 by multiplying by 3. We went from 3 to 9 by multiplying by 3. That is a proportional relationship. They are equivalent fractions, and they're accelerating at the same rate. Okay, so that is a proportional relationship. And then we have this other scenario, 1 over 5, or 1 to 5, compared to 4 to 16. The first part we compared by multiplying by 4, and the second part we multiplied by 3.2. That is not proportional because they have different rates on the top and bottom. They are not equivalent fractions. Okay. So let's review how we set up proportions, okay? We're comparing two more ratios. They are also equivalent fractions. In setting up proportions, it's all about the labels. So if we have 7 biscuits, that cost $9.50. How much does 4 biscuits cost? We're not going to solve this. We're just going to focus on how to set up proportions, because once you know how to set up proportions, you can do so many things. You can't dunk a basketball, but you can do so many things. All right, so here you see I've color-coded it. 7 biscuits is on the top, and it's 7. And on the bottom, I have the dollar, $9.50. So that's my initial ratio, 7 biscuits to $9.50. Okay, and what it equals is 4 biscuits to I don't know the cost. Okay, so it's all about the labels. In this one, everything biscuits is on top and everything cost related is on the bottom. I could also flip it over and put cost on the top and put biscuits on the bottom. It's just important that we look at it as lining up the labels. We could also do all biscuits in one port ratio. I have 7 biscuits to 4 biscuits. That would be our initial ratio. And the other one, I have 950 to X, and that would be comparing our labels of first ratio to second ratio. All right, and so right here on the top, I have from 7 to 950, that's this. So we're lined up as biscuits together one way, and we're lined up making sure our ratios are sticking together. And we could also do it the other way by just flipping it over. I'm just trying to make sure you understand all the things. I can do that same situation as above, but flipping it over. All right, let's review the thingy thang, because it's pretty awesome. All right, proportions can be used to convert length, weight, mass, which we use mass, and volume, which is capacity, within and between measurement systems. So when we're talking about length, we could be converting between feet and miles. We could be saying how many miles are in a kilometer. We could say how many inches are in a yard. We have all kinds of things. Weight, we might be talking about how many ounces are in a pound, how many pounds are in kilograms, and so forth. And volume, we're going to be relating how many cups are in compared to fluid ounces, how many gallons are in liters, how many quarts are in a pint, and pints are in quarts, and back and forth, anything relating capacity, okay? But if we understand how proportional relationships work, which we've already gone over in a couple different videos, and we just talked about here by making sure we have the labels lined up, and if we know the conversion factor, in other words, if we know how many feet are in 1 mile, or how many kilometers are in 1 mile, or how many inches are in 1 yard, then all we have to use is the most amazing tool ever called the thingy thang. So let's show you an example here. Okay. For example, we know 1 yard is equal to approximately 3 feet. It's not even approximate. It's absolutely 3 feet. Let's get rid of that approximately. 1 yard is 3 feet. Okay? So if we know that 1 yard equals 3 feet, 2 yards equals what? 6 feet, right? And that's a pretty easy proportional relationship because 1 equals 3. Well, we doubled both of them. 2 equals 6. Since conversions of measurements are based on multiplying and dividing by the consistent rate, we are dealing with proportions. In other words, we doubled and we doubled. That makes it a proportion, right? So now we understand how this is working. So proportions mean we can bring on the thingy thing. So let's take a look at this. Step 1, set up your proportion correctly. That's in the thingy thing. That's our goal, is setting up a proportion correctly. So in this instance, we're going to use the conversion factor as our initial ratio. Step 2, we're going to cross multiply. Step 3, we're going to set them equal to each other. In step 4, we're going to divide both sides by the coefficient. So let's use it. Let's use that thingy thing. For example, we know that 1 inch is approximately 2.54 centimeters. That's our conversion factor. The thing we know, that's our initial ratio. That is the thing we know is 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. And our question is, how many inches are in 22 centimeters? All right, so we know one ratio right here. That's our initial ratio. That's important when we're trying to set up our thingy thing. So the first thing we do is set up our proportion. Well, our initial ratio is set up right here. Remember, it's all about the labels. So on top I have inches, on the bottom I have centimeters. And we're going to set that equal to our other ratio that we're going to deal with. We don't know how many inches, but we do know 22 centimeters, okay? So since inches goes on top, that would be our unknown. I went ahead and put a C. Or how many inches goes on top, that's the C. And then on the bottom, 22 centimeters, and I had 2.5 centimeters. So I have, my labels are lined up correctly. What do we do next? We cross multiply. And you know how this works. What's 1 times 22? That equals 22. So when we say cross multiply, we're multiplying diagonally from the top of one to the bottom of the other. And then we do the other diagonal, 2.54 times C, and that equals 2.54C. Step 3, we're going to take both of those answers, and we are going to set them equal to each other. So I take the 22 and I take the 2.54. Those are both my answers. And I put an equal sign in between them. That's pretty easy. And then finally, I divide both sides by the coefficient. So the coefficient is the number that is connected to our variable, 2.54. So I'm going to divide both sides by that variable, okay, or by that coefficient. And what I get is 2.54 divided by 2.54 equals 1. So I have 1C, which I don't need to write the 1 in front of C, right? It's just C. And on the other side, I have 22 divided by 2.54. And it shows up that C, so since that one side canceled out, okay, we can go ahead and say C equals 8.6614. Okay, what does that tell us? 22 centimeters is equal to 8.6614 inches. Beautiful. All right, so let's go ahead and fill in the blanks. So again, all you have to do is know your initial ratio, which is the conversion factor, and we're going to set that conversion factor equal to whatever we're missing. The other ratio, it has something that we know and something that we're missing. So the key to conversions is knowing the conversion factor. What are we converting? All right, inches to yards, and that last one, it was 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. Then we can use the let's get after it. Use the conversion factor as the initial ratio. I'm just going to keep making sure I say initial ratio so you know that is your first ratio in your proportional relationship. So the one we know is really important because then we can figure out what we don't know. And then finally, cross multiply and divide to find the missing measurement or the missing whatever the variable represents. All right, I think you guys are rocking. Hey, do you guys know what a car's favorite type of shoes is? Yep, it's a pair of Vans. Vans, cars, shoes.